Friends, welcome back to your UPSC. Today we are going to start with a new topic in Geography of India, that is natural vegetation and wildlife. So let's get started. So today in natural vegetation and wildlife we will be covering the portion of natural vegetation, its classification and its distribution on map. Okay. So if we ask somebody what is natural vegetation? So natural vegetation is simply a primeval plant cover uh, unaffected by men either directly or indirectly. Okay, so it is a plant cover that is uninterrupted by men. Okay, so there is no interference of men in this plant cover. So this type of growth is known as natural vegetation. Okay, so natural vegetation and forest are correlated. Okay, so the forest is actually a Latin word, is is derived from a Latin word that is forest. Okay, so forest basically means outside, and it generally refers to the area outside the boundary of village that is uninhabited and uninterrupted. Okay, so the forest is uninterrupted land and uninhabited land. Okay, so if we simply define forest, forest is an area set aside for production of timber and other forest produce or maintained under woody vegetation of certain benefit which it provides. Okay, so that is basically forest. Now what are the factors that influence vegetation? So vegetation is basically influenced by three factors, three geographical factors. First one is climatic factor. So climatic factors are, first is rainfall, then we have temperature. In rainfall and temperature, rainfall is the major factor, okay, more important factor than temperature, except in Himalayas. Okay, the seasonal rainfall regime, the length of dry season and its relation to the march of temperature, okay, are also important. So whatever the amount of precipitation, the amount of duration of precipitation, okay, that affects the vegetation. And the temperature is also influenced by precipitation, as we have march of temperature in relation with this precipitation. Okay, so we will see that the areas which are having higher, like above 200 centimeter rainfall, they will have evergreen type of vegetation. Okay, and the other areas which are having lesser rainfall, that is 100 to 200 centimeter, they will have deciduous type of rainfall. Then as the amount of precipitation it decreases, the amount of vegetation cover also decreases, and the least vegetation is found in the area of Thar desert, where the precipitation is below 20 centimeters. Okay, so there we have thorny bushes only. Then next factor is the soil condition. Okay, so the soil condition is actually, it gives birth to different type of vegetation. Okay, like if we have mangrove forest, we have deltic soil. Okay, so then we have swampy forest, then we have beaches, then we have sandy coastal forest. Okay, so these are some of the examples which defines that if the soil condition is different, then we have different type of vegetation and different type of natural vegetation cover in different areas. Then lastly, but the important factor is topography. Okay, topography in the narrow sense, it is responsible for certain minor type of changes. Like if we have the higher altitude, then we will have alpine vegetation. Okay, if we have the like tidal areas, then we will have tidal forest. Okay, so like this, the topography also influences the vegetation and its cover. Okay, vegetation cover. Now As we have done the factors influencing vegetation, now we will look into various classification of natural vegetation. Now, India is having a great variety of vegetation in different parts. Due to its unequal distribution of rainfall and temperature, we have the seasonal variation, and because of these factors, we have variation in vegetation as well. Okay, now the scholars they have tried to bring in some elements for their classification. But if we look at it, the general categorization or general classification of Indian forest is a difficult job. Okay, but various systematic classification or attempts of classification were made by various scholars like S.K. Seth, S.S. Negi, Champion, H.G. Champion. Okay, so they all tried to bring in some similarities and some differences to give a general classification to Indian forest. Now, based on the suggestions of these scholars, the Indian vegetation is divided into five main type of vegetation and 16 subtype. Okay, so the five main type of vegetation are moist tropical forest, dry tropical forest, montane subtropical forest, then montane temperate forest, and lastly we have alpine forest. Okay, so these are five broad categories. Now in this five broad categories we have 16 subdivisions. Okay, they are in total 16 subdivisions which are made for classification of forest. So the first one that we have is moist tropical forest. So in moist tropical forest, we have four categories, that is tropical wet evergreen, tropical semi-evergreen, then tropical moist deciduous, and lastly we have littoral or swamps. Okay. Starting with the tropical wet evergreen. Tropical wet evergreen are typical rainforest which grows in those areas where the annual rainfall it exceeds 250 centimeters. Okay, so we have two areas like this. We have Western Ghats, western side of Western Ghats, some of those parts, and then we have Mawsynram and Cherrapunji region in Meghalaya. Okay, so these regions they have rainfall more than 250 centimeters, and temperature annual temperature is about 25 to 27 degrees Celsius. Okay, the average annual humidity it exceeds 77%, and dry season is very, or we can say very short or distinctly short. So we have very less dry season or nil dry season. Okay, now as we know the typical category of these forests are actually meso mesophytic vegetation. Okay, mesophytic evergreen vegetation which are very dense. Okay, and they are multi-layered forest. So we have multi-layered forest and their height it exceeds 60 meters. Okay, they are quite high, and their average height is 45 to 60, and some of the trees, sorry, their height it exceeds 60 centimeters, 60 meters. Now, if we look at entire morphology, it will look like a green carpet. Okay, if we take a look from above, it will look like a green carpet. And because we have such a dense vegetation, the sunlight it is not able to penetrate inside. Okay, and it is not able to reach the ground. Now, because of it, we have deep shade in the ground, and there is growth of various masses, tangled masses like canes, bamboos, ferns, climbers, etc. Okay. Now, if you look at the timber of these forests, they are fine grained and they are hard and durable. Okay, and because of their properties like they are hard and durable and as well as they are fine grained, they have quite a great commercial value. Okay, So some of the important species of this forest are Kedar, then we have Toon, we have Hopia, then we have Jamun, canes, okay, in the Western Ghats. Then in the Himalayan region, if we see, the forests have trees like Gurjan, Chaplasa, Jamun, Mesua, Agar, Moli, bamboo, etc. Okay, so they have got quite a high commercial value, but because these forests they are impenetrable, that is why we have not been able to properly exploit these forests. Okay, and there is absence of pure stand, and as this area is uninhabited, because of which we have not a good transport communication. Okay, transport network is not very good, that's why it lacks transport facility, so we are not able to make it a market valuable goods. Okay, market friendly goods. These are not market valuable goods. Next is tropical semi-evergreen. Tropical semi-evergreen, it is found in the bordering areas of tropical wet evergreen forest. Okay, and they are comparatively drier areas. Okay, here we will find the rainfall, it ranges between 250 to 200 centimeters. Okay, so the rainfall is a bit less than the tropical wet evergreen. Okay, the mean annual temperature, it varies from 24 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius, and relative humidity is 75%. In the previous one, that is tropical wet evergreen, the relative humidity was 77%, but in this one it is 75%. And it is found in western coast, Assam, lower slopes of eastern Himalayas, Odisha, Andaman, etc. Okay, then now, if we see the basic characteristics, these forests are less dense but they are more gregarious, okay, than evergreen forest, wet evergreen forest, okay. At places, these forests represents a transition from wet evergreen to deciduous forest, okay. Now, basic characteristics of the forest in these trees in these forests is they have thicker bark, they have rougher bark. Okay, their trunk is quite buttressed, and in these forests we will find heavy climbers, but the bamboo growth will be less. Okay, the major species in these forests is like rosewood, then we have mangoes, then we have champa, hallock, lisa, Indian chestnut. Okay, then we have white kedar. We have various species of these tropical semi-evergreen forest. Then next we have tropical moist deciduous forest. So tropical moist deciduous forest, these are the forest areas which are found in the areas of rainfall, average rainfall of about 100 to 200 centimeter per annum. And the mean annual temperature is 27 degrees Celsius, whereas the humidity is 60 to 75%. Okay, now these areas are included in the belt which is running along Western Ghats surrounding the belt of evergreen forest. Okay, then we have some strips in Eastern Ghats also, eastern slope of Eastern Ghats. Then we have these forests along the Shivalik ranges, including Tarai and Bhabar region. Now, if you look at the basic characteristics of the trees present here, so the trees of these forests, they drop their leaves or they shed their leaves for 6 to 8 weeks during spring and early summers, which is where we have lack of sufficient moisture required for these trees. Okay, then the forest, it again becomes green when the leaves grow in the onset of rainy season. So the tropical moist deciduous forest, they present a irregular top story of different species. Okay, we have like range of trees from 20 meters to 65 60 to 65 meters high, and underground, if we see, we have growth like bamboos, climbers, and canes. Okay, now these forests are very useful because the yield of valuable timber, okay, they yield valuable timber and several other forest products. The main species that are found here are teak, sal, then we have badam, dhoop, then we have bamboo, jamun, rosewood, mehua, etc. etc. Okay, so this was tropical moist deciduous forest. Now, lastly, in this moist tropical forest, we have littoral and swamps. Okay, so these forests, they occur in and around the delta or estuarine or creek prone areas. Okay, they also occur in tidal influenced area. Okay, that is why they are also known as tidal forest or deltic forest. Okay, these littoral forests, they occur at several places along the coast. Swamp forests are confined to the delta of Ganga and Mahanadi and Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, these rivers. Okay, so Ganga, it forms arcuate delta, while other they form estuarine delta. Okay, so in these deltic regions we have swamp forest. Okay, now most peculiar feature of these forests is that they can survive and grow both in fresh as well as in brackish water. Okay, now we have occurrence of dense mangrove along the coastline and sheltered estuaries. Okay, we have mangrove growth in tidal creeks, backwater, salt marshes, mud flows. So, in all these areas, which is about 7% of the world's total mangrove area, is found in these regions around Indian subcontinent. Okay. Now, if we look into values of these forests, they provide useful fuel wood. Okay, and they are also acting as carbon sink areas. Okay, and here if we look into the forest growth, the species that grow here, we have sundari, which prominent grows prominently here, and it is growing in abundance. Okay, its wood is a hardwood and durable timber. Okay, which is useful for construction and building purpose, and it is also useful for making boat. Now, the important species of the forest are sundari, as I have already told. Then we have keoda. Then we have rhizophora, screw pine, etc. in these forests. Then next we have second category of forest, that is dry tropical forest. Now in dry tropical forest we have three subcategories, that is tropical dry evergreen, then we have tropical dry deciduous, then lastly we have tropical thorn. Okay. Now if we look into tropical dry evergreen, these forests are found along the coast of Tamil Nadu and the areas which receives annual rainfall of about 100 centimeter. Okay. Now these areas are mostly from northeast. Okay. These areas, they get their rainfall from northeast monsoon. Okay. Now here the mean annual temperature is about 28 degrees Celsius and mean humidity is about 75%. Now these areas, as the name suggests, they are covered with tropical dry evergreen forest, and the growth of evergreen in this area of such a rainfall, it arouses a great botanical interest, and the reason for such phenomena is difficult to explain. Now, some scholars consider the distribution of rainfall as one of the reasons because this area it gets rainfall during the winter season. Okay. Now, if we look into chief characteristics of these forests are having short, stretchered trees. Okay, where the height of these trees it rises up to 12-meter high. Okay. Now in these forests there is no canopy layer. Okay, differentiation. There is no canopy layer differentiation, and the main trees that are found they are like kikar, jamun, tamarind. Then we have neem, etc. And because we have quite a good amount of light in underground area, okay, in the ground area, because of which we have rare growth of bamboos or sometimes no growth. Okay. Now most of the land under these forests or these forests have been cleared for agricultural use or for plantation purpose. Then next we have tropical dry deciduous forest. Now tropical dry deciduous forest, these are similar to moist deciduous forest and they shed their leaves in dry season. The important difference in both these moist deciduous and tropical dry deciduous is that the species that grows in tropical dry deciduous they can grow in the area of comparatively less rainfall, that is from 100 to 150 centimeter per annum. Okay, and they represents a transitional type of growth. On the wetter side they give a way to moist deciduous one, and on the drier side they degenerate into thorn forest. Okay, so they actually show a transition area between moist deciduous forest and thorny forest. Now such forests they are categorized by a slow and uneven canopy. Okay, they are composed of mixture of species of deciduous trees which rises up to the height of 20 meters or so. And as we have enough light in the ground, it permits the growth of grass and climbers. Bamboo also grows, but they are not in luxurious amount. Okay, these type of forests are found over large area and they occur in irregular white strips running in north south from the foot of Himalayas to Kanyakumari, except for Rajasthan, Western Ghats, West Bengal. Okay, the important trees, if we the species of trees in this forest, they are like teak. Then we have bamboo, red cedar. Then we have satinwood, papra, sal, kikar, etc. Kher, sorry, not kikar, kher. The large tract of these forests have been cleared for the agricultural purpose, and these forests also suffer from several botanic factors such as overcutting, overgrazing, and fire. Fire, okay. So these were tropical dry deciduous. Lastly, in this dry tropical forest, we have tropical thorn forest. Okay. So tropical thorn forest, they occur in the areas of low rainfall, low humidity, and high temperature. So rainfall is less than 75 centimeters And if we talk about humidity, it is less than 50%. And lastly, the temperature is 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, so because of these type of climatic conditions, there is no scope for thick forest. Only tropical thorn forests are found here, and the trees which grow have the height of 6 to 10 meters. Okay, that is the maximum height, and they are widely scattered. Now, the important species that grow here is acacia, Indian wild date, then we have khejra, palas, then we have babool, tor, cacti, etc. Okay, and the region where it is found. So, in northwestern part of the country, the areas include Rajasthan, southwestern Punjab, western Haryana, Kutch, and neighboring part of Swarashtra. Okay, and they degenerate into desert type in the Thar Desert. So as we move towards the western side in Rajasthan, it degenerates into Thar Desert. Then these forests in south, if we talk about south, they are found in the leeward side of Western Ghats, covering large area of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Okay, so these were dry tropical forest. Next, we have montane subtropical forest. Now, montane subtropical forests have basically three types, that is subtropical broad-leaved hills, then we have subtropical moist hills, then lastly we have subtropical dry evergreen. So first we will talk about subtropical broad-leaved hill forest. These forests are found in the eastern Himalayas to the altitude varying from 1000 to 2000 meters. Okay, and here the mean annual rainfall is 75 centimeters to 125 centimeter, and average annual temperature is 18 to 21 degree Celsius. Okay, the average humidity, if we talk about, is 80%, and here we find luxurious forest of evergreen species. Okay, and the height of these species is 20 to 30 meters, and they are very densely covered. Now here we find evergreen oaks, chestnut, which are prominent, with some ash and beech. Sal and pine, they occur in the lower area and higher margin. Okay. Now we have climbers and epiphytes that are common in this area. They are also found in some of the hilly areas like Nilgiri, Palani hills. Okay. Then now they are also known as the region of, or they are also known as stunned rainforest. Okay, and here the growth of plant is not as luxurious as the one in the true tropical evergreen forest. The higher parts of western ghats such as Mahabaleshwar and the summits of Satpura and Michael Range, the highlands of Bastar and Mount Abu in Aravalli ranges, they also carry some subtropical subtype of these forests. Okay, but most of these forests have been destroyed and reduced and changed beyond recognition by the human interference. Then next we have subtropical moist hills. Subtropical moist hills, they are also known as subtropical moist pine forest. Okay, these forests occur at the same height as the wet hills, that is 1000 to 2000 meters above the sea level. But in the western Ghats and some part of Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Naga Hills, Khasi Hills in Meghalaya. Okay, they also cover. They are also covered by such type of forest. Now, the most dominating trees which form pure stand here is chir. Okay, They are also known as chill. So it is chir or chill. Okay. So these are the most dominant tree species that is found here. And here it provides a valuable timber for furniture, boxes, and buildings. They are also used for producing resins, turpentine. Uh, there is often a grassy floor, which is covered by like bulbous plant. Okay, and there is little undergrowth except for stunted evergreen oak in the wetter areas. We have quite a good cover, little cover of undergrowth. Then next we have subtropical dry evergreen. Now subtropical dry evergreen forest, like we have tropical moist evergreen, they occur in the restricted areas, and they are found in the Bhabur areas, that is in the Shivaliks and the western Himalayas up to the height of about 1000 meters above the sea level. Here the rainfall is 50 to 100 centimeters. Okay, and the summer are sufficiently hot and winters are cold enough for the occurrence of frequent frost. Now, the basic the basic characteristics of these forests is that they are low, and they are practically, if we see, they are scrubs forest. Okay, scrubs forest with small evergreen stunted trees and shrubs such as like we have thorny species, herbs and grasses. We have olives, acacia, modesta, and then that are most prominent species. Okay, here we also have a cover of dwarf creeping palms, that is nonor pops. Okay, so they are spelled like double Norpops. Okay, so nonor pops, they are stunted or dwarf creeping palms. Okay, so this was about montane subtropical forest. Then next we have montane temperate forest. So in montane temperate forest we have three, that is montane wet temperate, then we have Himalayan moist temperate, and lastly we have Himalayan dry temperate. So here in montane wet temperate we have variety of growth at the height of 1800 to 3000 meters above the sea level, and annual rainfall, if we look here, is 150 to 300 centimeters, and the temperature, it ranges from 11 to 14 degrees Celsius. Average humidity is over 80%. Now they are mainly found in the higher hills of Tamil Nadu and Kerala in the east, in the south. Okay, and also in the eastern Himalayan region. Okay, we have like the hills of West Bengal, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, then we have Sikkim and Nagaland in these areas. In these areas, these mountain wet temperate forests are found. So these forests are actually closed evergreen forest where trees are short, branchy, okay, and they attain a large growth. Leaves here are of these plants are dense and rounded. And if we look into the we have climbers, mosses, and ferns and other epiphytes, okay, which are growing in the branches. The trees, they rarely achieve the height of more than 6 meters. Okay, so they are so much short in the height. The major species are deodar, Indian chestnut, birch, palm, then we have blue pine, oak, hemlock, etc. Okay, so this was montane wet forest. Next we have Himalayan moist temperate. I'm sorry for this mistake. So temperate. Himalayan moist temperate zone. Here the rainfall it varies from 150 to 250 centimeters, and the height that they attain is 150 1500 to 3300 meters. Okay, these forests they are found on the entire length of range in Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Darjeeling, Sikkim. And such forests they are mainly composed of coniferous species where the height it ranges from 30 meters to 40 meters. Okay, now in the wetter east, okay, so east area are wetter. So in the wetter east we have some of the broad-leaved species which are mixed with the dominant coniferous. Okay, so we have like pine, kedar, silver firs, spruce, etc. that are most important trees. Now they form a height but fairly open forest. Okay, they have height and they are fairly open forest with scrubby undergrowth. Okay, so we have good undergrowth like we have oak, then we have some bamboos, laurels, etc. And if we look at the drier western part, okay, so the eastern part is wetter, while the western part it is drier. So if we look at the drier western part, their rainfall varies from 115 to 180 centimeters, especially in the west. Okay, so deodar is the dominant tree in this scene. Okay, and it forms a pure stand. And here we have pine wood, which is used for construction, timber, railway slippers, etc. Okay, so this was Himalayan moist temperate forest. The last we have in mountain temperate forest is Himalayan dry temperate forest. Now these forests are predominantly coniferous with xerophytic shrubs in which deodar, oak, ash, maple, olives, etc. are the main trees. Now such forests are found in the inner dry ranges of Himalayas where the southwest monsoon is very feeble. Okay, so the precipitation is below 100 centimeters. Okay, and we have the precipitation mostly in the form of snow. Now, such areas are in Ladakh, Lahul, then we have Sikkim, Garhwal, etc. Okay, so these were Himalayan dry temperate. Now, lastly, we have Alpine forest. Alpine forests have three subcategories, that is subalpine, moist alpine scrub, then lastly we have dry alpine scrubs. So these alpine forests they occur all along the Himalayan altitude ranging from 2,900 that is 3,000 meters to 3,500 meters or even up to 3,800 meters above the sea level depending upon the location and variety of species. Okay. Now the three categories we already know. So the first one is subalpine. Subalpine forests they occur in the upper limit of tree forest adjoining the alpine scrubs and grassland and comprises of a dense growth of small crooked trees and large shrubs. Okay, and here we have coniferous overwoods which combine these vegetation. Now here in these forests we have mixture of coniferous and broadleaf trees in which the coniferous trees they attain the height of about 30 meters while the broadleaf tree they reaches only over 10 meters. Okay, fir, kale, spruce, etc. They are the important species in this subalpine. Then next we have moist alpine scrubs. They are low evergreen, dense growth. Where we have so here we have dense growth of breech, berries, and honeysuckles, okay, which occur about from 3,000 meters and expand up to snow lines. Okay. Now, lastly, we have dry alpine scrubs. Now, dry alpine scrubs, they are found in the uppermost limits. Okay, and here we have scrubs, xerophytic plants. Then we have dwarf scrubs, and they range over 3,500 meters. Okay, they are found in the dry zone. Okay, they are found in dry zone, and the most important species here is jupiner, honeysuckle. Then we have potentilla. Okay, that are the most important species of this forest. So these were the three forests of alpine forest. Now we will look into their basic distribution. So here if we see, we have cold desert here, and here we have hot desert. So here we don't have any vegetation. These are alpine forests. Okay, so these are alpine forests. Below that we have Himalayan dry temperate forest, and here this strip, if we see this strip is basically Himalayan moist temperate forest. Now below that we have subtropical coniferous forest here. Okay, so these are subtropical coniferous forest. The alpine forests are found in these Himalayan regions as well as the northern part of northeastern states. Okay, so Arunachal Pradesh, here we have this area, alpine forest. Below that we have subtropical coniferous, and here this area, if we look at, it is our tropical wet evergreen. This area is tropical semi-evergreen forest. Okay, and the whole of this area is our tropical moist deciduous forest, which includes patch of tropical dry deciduous. Okay, so tropical dry deciduous, it is found in most of the central part of India. So this area is covered by tropical moist deciduous. Sorry, tropical dry deciduous. Okay, tropical moist deciduous is this one. Then next we have the swampy forest or littoral or swamps. So littoral or swamps, they are found in the deltic region. So here, these regions are tropical, or sorry, littoral swamps. These are the deltic region or tidal forest. Tropical wet evergreen, if we look at, so tropical wet evergreen, we have a narrow strip here, and then we have some part here, which is included in tropical wet evergreen. Okay, then tropical semi evergreen, the area covering this tropical wet evergreen, this area is tropical semi evergreen. Okay, then next we have tropical moist deciduous. Tropical moist deciduous is found in this strip, this belt, which is covering both tropical semi evergreen as well as tropical wet evergreen, is the tropical moist deciduous area. The next we come to dry tropical forest. Dry tropical forest, we have tropical dry evergreen. Tropical dry evergreen is found in the rain shadow area. Okay, this area and this area, we have tropical dry evergreen forest. Then next we have tropical dry deciduous. Tropical dry deciduous are in this region, and this whole region is tropical dry deciduous forest. Then tropical thorns, they are found in the areas of Rajasthan and the peninsular region. Okay, so this region, which lies in the rain shadow area of Western Ghats, we have tropical thorns. Okay, then next we have montane or subtropical forest. So this subtropical forest, we have subtropical broad-leaved hills. Then we have subtropical moist hills, subtropical dry evergreen. Okay, so these type of vegetation are found in here, this part of this northeastern part, as sorry, and then we have this area. Okay, so these type of vegetation are found here. Then next we have montane temperate forest. Now montane temperate forest, we have montane wet temperate forest, Himalayan moist temperate, then we have Himalayan dry temperate. Okay, so the Himalayan dry temperate forest is here, Himalayan moist temperate forest is here. Then we have montane wet temperate forest, which lies somewhere here. Okay, lastly we have alpine forest. Alpine forest have three categories: subalpine, moist alpine scrub, and dry alpine scrubs, which are found in this area of Himalayan region, and lastly in this area. Okay, so these are alpine forest. Now if we take a look at our island groups, they are covered in tropical evergreen type of vegetation. So that was about vegetation cover and its classification. So that was all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Let's meet in our next class. Till then, take care and have a nice day. Thank you.